Hey guys, what is going on? It is Looney Ghost here, and I wanted to tell a story today. I wanted to switch things up a little bit and do a different type of video. And I'm going to be telling the story of how one of my friends lost $1 million. That's right, and it's not clickbait. This actually happened, and as it was unfolding, I was like, this is something out of a movie. So, I'm gonna go ahead and throw this in for you guys, and I hope you guys enjoy this. For this story, obviously I'm not gonna be using names or telling any actual specifics of it, because that'd just be a very bad idea on my part. So we're gonna call my friend Tim. Tim and I work at the same place. I am one of the only ones who knows that he has a significant amount of money, and for the most part, he hasn't ever really said how much or anything, and I haven't asked that sort of question because that would just be rude of me to do. But it was President's Day weekend, and we are in my car going to one of the outlying sites for our job, and he is kind of freaking out. Normally he's outgoing, he's talkative, he's happy, and today he's just kind of quiet and on his phone a lot, and it's kind of starting to concern me, but I haven't necessarily said anything yet. So we're in the car and it's just the two of us. I'm like, hey man, is everything okay? And he's like, I'm not really sure if it is or not. He's like, I was looking at my bank app on my phone, and I saw that there were like these these deposits or these withdrawals from my bank, and I didn't do it, and they were for large amounts. Now this is Monday, but it's still President's Day weekend, so he's like, do you think that I can get somebody to answer? Are they gonna be there? They're probably not, right? And I'm like, no, I don't think so. But he's like, well, I have the phone number for one of them. I don't know that they'll actually answer me, but let me find out real quick. I'm gonna make this phone call while it's just us in the car. So he goes ahead and calls, and he explains the situation to them, and they're like, well, we will look into it. Let's, let us handle this on the back end. And it turns out that the routing number for the bank, he was able to get that, so he knew where they had cashed it at, and they could probably trace it to which specific branch that they went to, because whoever this was had cashed these checks at an actual location. So now that he's called them, and it's still just us in the car, I ask him, okay, so you've got them working on it, there's not much more you can do at this point, I'm assuming, so, tell me what's going on. So he's like, okay, so I checked my bank app this morning whenever I got into work, and there were 4 or 5 checks that had been cashed at a bank, and the routing number for it was not even a bank that I use anymore, and they were for significant amounts. And I'm like, well, how much are we talking? And he's like, well, one was for about 500, one was for about 1,500, and then they just kind of progressively went up from there. And I'm like, okay, that's messed up. I didn't want to ask what, the largest one was. I was just gonna leave it at progressively went up from there, but then he gets a phone call back, and it's the person from the bank that he had called earlier on their cell phone or whatever he had called them on, and they are asking him for a couple more details, and he tells them that the largest one, he tells them the amount for the largest one. I'm not gonna give the actual number, but it was close to $1 million, and at that point, with the extra amount, the other amounts that they had withdrawn, it was up to $1 million at this point. And so now we are headed back to our main site where we are most of the time, and there's not much more to do at this point. He's waiting on them. They have all the information that they need after the call back, so we're just kind of waiting now to find out what happens. And we're all there, we're trying to figure out how this possibly could have happened, since we know that banks have, policies in place to keep somebody from withdrawing that kind of money all at once. And, protocol to make sure that it is the person that owns the account if, in fact, they do withdraw that much money. And as we're figuring this out, or we're trying to figure this out, rather, he gets another call telling him that they found out that the checks that were used were from a brand new checkbook. And after looking into it, he realizes that he didn't even receive this checkbook. So not only did somebody go to a bank, act and pose as him, and get all of this money, they also went and got the checkbook from his house, brand new, not even picked up yet by them, and I still don't know how they did that, because it's not like the box that the checks would come in are marked or anything, and nobody should know about that, so it has to be somebody that is close by, or close to him, or something of that nature. But since the banks are closed, and it is President's Day weekend on Monday, and we can't get anything done, we just everything subsides till the next day. He doesn't say anything about any of this the entire day, so I wait a couple of more days. I don't want to pry into the business. So I ask him later on, and I'm like, so did anything ever happen? Did they find out who did it? They have surveillance cameras to check, the time that the deposits, or when that was made, and to find out who was at the window when it happened, right? And he's like, yeah, they found out definitely who did it. And he's like, I never really got to tell you, but I have this racist neighbor that used to live by me, and he really did not like me, he didn't like my family, and he tried to call the cops on us a bunch of times, but they were already aware of the situation. And evidently, this guy had gotten a hold of a brand new checkbook outside of his house. I don't know how he receives his checks, but you know, this racist old neighbor had gotten a hold of this somehow and thought that it would be a great idea and thought that this was like a way to stick it to Tim and, you know, to get all of it, you know, just take him down. Just take him down. That's what he wanted to do. But unfortunately for him, as I said before, there are security cameras, there are policies in place, and it's kind of difficult to get away with it whenever you show your face on a camera and go to the physical location to do this. Like, you're gonna get caught. I don't know what he was thinking. But thinking about it after the fact, that still didn't explain how it happened, because with the policies in place, the tellers know better than to do that, right? And so I asked him, I'm like, that still doesn't necessarily explain the whole teller situation and how he was actually able to pull this off, because they shouldn't have let it happen. So what about that part of it? And he's like, oh yeah, this bank that it happened at, I used to work at this bank. And there was a person there that I was a supervisor of, and they hated my guts and did not like me because I would catch them doing stuff, and I would report them every single time and get them in trouble. So they despise me to this day. And when they looked into it, not only with the guy, but they looked to see who the teller was that actually approved the transaction, and the person that it was had looked into the account 25 times, and he expected it but wasn't sure, but they did confirm it that it was the same teller that did not like him. Yeah, so it was the teller and the racist neighbor that was the ones that did it. But it doesn't stop there. They were able to catch the guy who cashed the checks and everything like that, but the teller got wind of it. So the guy is in jail, charges are pressed, all that good stuff, but the teller booked it. They ran, and they still have not been caught yet. I'm sure they will be at some point. But yeah, when all of this was unfolding, I thought it was insane. I thought it sounded like it was out of a movie, and I wanted to share this with you guys. And that's the story. Hope you guys liked it, and if you did, be sure to leave a like on it so that I know to do more of this kind of content. And as always, as well as that, I'm gonna end it here. I thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.